Bearing. Voting yet? Redirecting. Okay. We are live. Today is Thursday, September 19th. This is a meeting to check in on active development tasks for Backdrop CMS. Before we get into that, though, we wanted to welcome Kevin Thal and thank him for all of his work on two new contributed projects, ImageMagick and Google Tag Manager. We also have some open issues for backdropcms.org. It looks like one that we talked about recently, I don't know if we have a status update on, is this idea of nightly releases. And I was wondering, I think it's blocked by something, but I don't remember what it's blocked by. So I was wondering if we could put a note here that says what we need in order to do that. If anyone knows.
I'm not sure what it's blocked by. It probably access, you know, like we need somebody, let's see. I mean, we need to set up the webhook, the GitHub webhook to fire not just on releases, but on every commit. And then we need the project module to respond to that new commit has been created thing. So I don't think this is blocked currently. It just requires some work. In project module specifically, you could set this up even without backdropcms.org because project module is generic. So it's possible to do this just by improving project module, and then we would deploy the new version of project module, and that would be it basically. I mean, I think so, at least based on my last comment. I think we have a way forward here.
Okay, great.
But the idea is that we would just attach the dev releases to the last release that was created.
I think that makes sense.
Sounds like we have a way forward, but is somebody that can do it have the time to do it?
Yeah.
Right.
There's no one working on it right now.
Right. That seems to be the blocker, is just somebody that is working on it.
Okay. So there's a bunch of other issues for backdropcms.org. I don't think anything's gotten very much attention lately because we've been working on Backdrop, the product itself. But I did want to talk about the translation site, just because I saw that Olaf already has a 1.14 translation file up. So I was really excited how fast that got, which was great. I also noticed that we're getting new languages and new language maintainers, which is really exciting on the language site, translation site. All right, let's turn it over to Nate to talk about the project.
Okay. Hey, all right. So I don't think I was in the meeting last week because I haven't. Oh, you know what it is that, sorry, I thought we already celebrated the release of Backdrop 1.14, but this is the first meeting since Backdrop 1.14 has come out. So that's what I'm so confused about. It's only been 4 days. Oh my goodness, it just seems like it's been a lifetime already. Yeah, Backdrop 1.14 came out. Woo! Hey. And it turned out to be a pretty good release. We had lots of great new stuff in there. I think fieldable files and flexible layouts kind of taking the headlining slots. I'm also really excited to see that our release process went really well this time around. Like, and Tim, you played a large part in that. I think getting all of our blog posts and our tweets, all of our basically public-facing stuff all lined up and shipped out promptly after the release itself came out. So yeah, that was great. And thank you everybody for participating and getting out that great release. Jen, did you say something too?
I said that was mostly Tim.
Yes. So yeah, very excited to have 1.14 out. We did bump a couple of things, as you might expect, and we'll be going over those in the 115 list of issues. So let's see. So as usual, now what this means is that all bug fixes that didn't get into the 114, didn't get into 113 previously. 113 is basically now only in maintenance mode. We'll still be applying security patches if they come out for the next 4 months. 114 is receiving all bug fixes from here on out, though, that are not security related. So a couple of those ones that have carried over. The first item for 114.1, the first bug fix release. Oh, I should also add that we haven't seen, like, it's been quiet in the issue queue regarding regressions introduced in 114. Like, it's been 4 days now. Like, 114 specific issues are just like pretty negligible. So that's been awesome. So I'm really just happy that we've had the 114 release came out, and it for the most part has been really pretty stable, like the parts that we released. Tim found something that was Tugboat specific, we think, but that was my fault, not Backdrop 114's release problem. So anyway, 114.1 bug fixes that we can pursue. We've had this long-standing issue that the views is none of operator has been broken for quite some time. It's issue 3614. Jen, there's some updates that you have done, DocWell month as well. Can you summarize the state of that?
Yeah, so it's committable right now. I spent another day. I took all of the tests that were in the Drupal 7 views version, and I tried to run them against an unmodified version of Backdrop from before we broke it, and those tests didn't even pass then. So I have a feeling those tests that are failing are going to be fixed by all of the new views issues that Gregory's working on. I don't think they all work on the current version of views we have now. So for the 2 tests that were failing, I commented them out and then reapplied, so got Backdrop, fresh version of Backdrop, and reapplied DocOne's most recent patch. And it passes all the tests except for the 2 that are commented out. And it fixes the bug. So I think that we should commit that as is, continue working on all of Gregory's views bug fix issues. And after we find the 2 that add the changes that fix the tests, we uncomment the tests and get those going again.
So this adds new tests, but portions of it are commented out?
Yeah, there's two tests that check like the number of results in a view. And if you, the numbers in the results of the view are wrong because the view is returning the wrong results. But that's because of another bug in views that's not related to this one.
Oh, so we think that there's another cross-port somewhere that would fix that issue.
Yeah, and I found a couple that were related and tried to apply them like, maybe this one needs to go first, but I ended up getting into a huge mess, and I think we just need to do them all in order.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems to me, I raised this issue as a, I raised this as a potential issue early on, but it seems that the likelihood of it now it's more, yeah, I guess.
Okay, interesting. It sounds like you're advocating for, not officially advocating, just generally advocating for merging this before we do all of the other cross-ports. Because we could do all the other cross-ports and eventually that test.
I just don't want us to have to wait. Like, we already have sites that have to apply this patch every single time we have an update. So every single time we update, either their site's broken or we're inconveniencing these people. Where I feel like a lot of the other bug fixes that are going in are for like kind of obscure things, but the is none of operator is something that's commonly used. So I think that it's, you know, more important than a lot of the other ones. I don't think we should wait, you know, another release or 2 before we get there.
Judging, so the views meta has like 8 subtasks, and we only have gotten 2 of them.
Okay.
If we at this rate, it means that this fix will be delayed. So yeah, if we can get committed to, I can get committed to creating the cross ports patches, but we need someone to review. If we can get committed to have them reviewed, because some of them are really simple as well, and committed rather soon, then yes, let's delay. But otherwise, I think that if we can verify, at least a couple of people can verify that it fixes the problem for them, and it has been, that's the feedback that we've been getting for some time now, then I think that we shouldn't delay any longer. Like, it's been fixed since when, like, I think it's maybe a couple of releases now, even before 1.15, right? Yeah.
Okay. I can get on that. Okay. I think that one still, still basically needs review. Hasn't been marked RTBC yet. So, okay. Sounds good.
It would be good to get someone else to test it in the new sandbox and make sure that it works there too. I am running it in production.
Yeah, now we have views, like view exports of views that actually reproduce the problem, and we can compare before and after.
Plus, there's pretty good steps to like reproduce the issue now too.
Yeah. So I've also added the 4046 meta for the flexible layout. There's a few issues there, and the reason why I added it there is I'm not sure if we can, how many, or if we can get any of those things done in the next 1 week that we have, but more as a general thing, as in these don't have to wait for the next one minor release, right? The 1.15.
Yeah, we'll see. Nate has some objections to renaming the URLs.
Well, okay, if we exclude that one.
Or what I was thinking is we could rename the user interface and leave the URLs and then change the URLs in the next release too.
Yeah, that could work. I'm more interested in working in the last one that I've added, like because I've done sort of like some of the work to automatically generate icons for flexible layouts. And also, I think 4052, sorry,
Yes.
4045 is affecting, I can't remember, the list that we have, the block list in the reports. Like, if you visit that page, I'll add a screenshot of that ticket. So I've noticed that if you go to the list that we have of the blocks where we report which layout is using them in which region, because the regions have random names, it's like the whole layout of the table is broken now because it has this huge links to the respective place where the blocks are being used.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep rolling here through these things.
I have also a question to the meta about flexi layouts. I'm interested to get some feedback to 4052, which is about a feature request to allow a custom ID for rows. And the background is I was hoping that flexible layouts make it more easy to build one-pager sites or landing pages with the typical full-width stripes in different background colors. And at the moment, it's not really possible because usually you have navigation with links to anchors on the same page. And therefore, you need the IDs. For example, example.com/about, example.com/contact, and so on. Not slash and then hashtag contact. And it's not possible to to provide these IDs in the flexible layout. There are some pseudo IDs, but very long and cryptic. And I could change the template to also use these very long and cryptic IDs as real IDs, but they're not really usable. They're not readable in the browser address bar and so on.
I just added a comment to this issue too. I wonder if we have any other examples of anywhere in core where you can add an ID. I don't think we do.
In a link dialog.
I don't think so, but I don't think
we have it. Yeah, it's quite new.
What was that?
In the link dialog.
Link dialog.
Yeah, there's an.
Yeah, that's content though. I feel like that's valid. So I don't know. I mean, my general thought is that we shouldn't provide like a new interface. I don't know. Other people have thoughts on this. Nate's making a really squishy face.
Yeah, but tell me, what's your objection?
Just that we don't allow anyone to add IDs anywhere else, and that people aren't supposed to be using IDs for this. So I don't know. I mean, so like jumping to places in content, the ID should be in the content, not in the layout. But so your use case is not the use case I thought you were having. I thought it was for writing CSS. And I was like, I think a class can be used for writing CSS. But using an anchor tag might be a better choice for putting in an anchor instead of an ID. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
An anchor tag?
Yeah, so like that pound thing in the URL, that's supposed to be an anchor tag. But recently they've changed it so that it works with an ID. So like you put in a name equals, that's what you jump to. But that's still content, it's not layout. And I think what you want to do is jump to a part of the layout, not jump to a part of the content. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think
it's not possible in content. So you can't build these sites just in content.
Yeah, because some of these are what do you call, like a parallax sort of like page, like a single page, and there might be just an image in the background or things, I don't know, that make it harder.
Or the typical sites. So for example, Jen, your own website,
yeah,
GenerationCom is made this way. So,
right, but it's not a 80%. I don't know. I feel like that's like I don't know. I think that if you're using the UI to do it, I don't know, just adding an ID seems like too far.
Really?
I don't know.
Like,
the idea that we have is not particularly.
You have these ugly pseudo IDs, and I can't do a nice one by myself. So,
could you just use a block style for that, or does it have to be on the row?
Region. On the row, actually.
But blocks, you can't add IDs either.
But you can make a block style that adds an ID.
You mean like a contrib module?
Yes.
Yeah, you could probably make a contrib module that would add IDs to rows too, I would imagine.
But the block, so the block isn't full width. Because you need, and this page, this type of page is very common, I think, in the last years. So also all the paragraph sites, the paragraphs module look like that. So you have a sort of striped layout, and every stripe is full width, like the hero block.
Sure.
Yeah.
I agree with the use case. That's something I've been trying to figure out, is how to make it easier to build the striped long pages. I don't know about, I'm not, the concerns Jen's raising, I haven't wrapped my head around all of them, so I haven't heard them.
This is also just the way that I think about building things too, is I'm not a site builder, I'm a coder. And for me, it's like, oh yeah, well, my site does that, I just made a layout. But that's exactly what you guys are doing. You're just using a UI to do it instead of writing code. I don't know. So yeah.
Yes, and this was the point of introducing the flexible layouts, so that people can do everything from the UI, right?
Right.
so that they don't have to touch code.
Actually, so I'm fine with doing it with an own layout. I'm doing it now because it's not possible at the moment. I need it now, but that was also my thought, that we introduced flexible layouts so that you don't have to write the layouts by yourself. So, and then we should do it in a way that you can meet the common page layouts.
I mean, to me, that's one of the big benefits of the flexible layouts, is the ability to do something like this. So I think the thing that I hadn't gotten to yet that Olaf has is the menu, the navigation for that page, right? I've been more focused on just, can I, through the UI, sort of create these banded regions? And I've been excited about some of the things we've done that make that possible, but it hadn't occurred to me that, like, oh, okay, how do I navigate now down this page?
Yeah, I think that's what I was thinking too. Like, I was thinking, well, if you just need to make a stripe, you can use a class. But I didn't think about using an anchor tag to a part of the page. That's a different, kind of a different beast. All right.
So
I'm ambivalent now.
So yeah, okay.
could you make,
Thanks. I'm sorry.
For the bars, could you make it so that each bar is a block and then just have a single column that's full width that goes all the way down, and then make your blocks full width as well?
Okay, but then when you want to place some blocks there, for example, I want to place a views block with some some posts, for example. That's not possible when I have a block as a row. I can put these blocks in a block, or maybe it's possible with a very special configuration, but I think it's too complicated. You see?
Not really, but
Not really.
yeah,
So if I have a
having
block,
hard time visualizing it.
if I have a block and use it like a row, I can't put other blocks in it.
No, like you put so you have your layout where you have you just have one column, and you make your blocks wide, look like they go across the whole screen, but it's actually just a bunch of blocks in a single region that stack on top of each other.
And if I want to display blocks not on top of another, but several in a row?
I don't know.
Maybe it's too complicated to discuss it all here. I'd be happy if someone could write in the issue, and so we can go on.
Maybe you can then provide like a screenshot or a mock-up of the site something that you're trying to achieve that makes it hard, and then we can sort of like visualize this for everybody.
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Tim, you're saying something? You're muted.
Sorry. Now that you've raised this issue, I'm going to try and experiment with this, and then I can say something smart about it after I've tried it myself.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm with Olaf, like in my head, but I haven't tried it.
Right.
Even. So
yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same way. That it's like, seems like the ID that we're adding right now is completely worthless. It's a big UUID. So what's the value that it's like, replacing it seems like it would be a good thing. But I also see that we don't have IDs in a lot of other places, like blocks. You can't specify the ID, but you specify the class. So
yeah, I mean, so in views, the UUIDs are important, but they got moved to classes instead. Like I think in Drupal 6 they were IDs or something, and in Drupal 7 they became a class. Just because they needed something unique, but they didn't need it to be an ID. Yeah, I don't know.
But that's usually for like the automatically generated things.
Yeah.
I definitely agree that automatically generated things should, that's
what it is.
Funny. The automatically generated things should be classes, not IDs. And so if the automatically generate things or classes, why are they still an ID? Like it is for this layout.
So I just also posted a screenshot in 4045. This is another place where at least the randomized names sort of like visually make an impact. Like you can see that if you had to work with SATS IDs in general, like a newcomer.
Oh yeah.
Like,
oh, that's weird.
Yeah, no, it's weird.
It should have been using the human readable name,
yeah.
not the machine name. That's weird.
Yeah. So this can be fixed there. It's an easy thing, I guess. I haven't tried it. It's just something that I noticed the other day when I was testing. Maybe it was a few hours ago. That's what I say, the other day. But yeah, I tried to reproduce the problem that Tim mentioned, and then I noticed this. Which is
I see. Because this is region names.
Yes, but imagine now that you have to work with things like that when you're creating the hashtag thing or the fragments.
I have to say that the flexible layouts module has got me thinking about experimental modules in core, because I feel like we're uncovering things that might be a little bit difficult to fix, that just are hard, that would have been hard for us in the regular testing process to uncover. I don't know.
So our way of sorting the experimental or having the equivalent of what D8 has as experimental is to have, we haven't fixed that, but there is an issue for it, to have recommended or promoted contrib modules. And
this is a little tricky though, because it wasn't a new contrib module. It was just added to layout. So that wouldn't have worked that way. I mean, I think the real problem here is that not enough people are testing the preview. And I wouldn't want to introduce something that would affect our end users if the problem is with our process.
Yeah.
I installed the preview on a bunch of sites, but I don't use the layout builder, so it's completely useless to do. But my clients got to edit sites with it and they didn't have any problems. But yeah, I mean, I think like when we put in big new features like this, it's tough because they're for new users. And so installing like a preview version is something that's not a new user does. Yeah, it's a little tricky.
Anyway.
This was one of my arguments why I said that maybe we should be updating the Tagboat demo, or if I know that Nate had concerns about that, like putting a pre-release on the Tagboat, but maybe it could be a second button or a second page where it says like try the new pre-release. Like we should try to lower the barrier of people testing out. Like if they're hesitant to set it up on their local or upgrade their live sites, then yeah, and maybe like what you call it, a newsletter, as in, hey, when I have sort of like a taste of what's coming up in 2 weeks, just help us test things out, would get more exposure. And also we could, like with this newsletter, we could draw attention to the things that we actually need tested, like no problems was reported, of course, as expected with the CK editor update, which was done a little bit, this time was done a little bit last minute. But I would like to say to people that, hey, we are updating component X, so can you please just, try to kick the tires and see if anything's broken.
Okay. I also want to say there's another, the next item on the agenda actually is another thing related to flexible layouts, that some classes that are on other layouts are not on flexible layouts, including L header and L footer. And that's causing it so that things like the hero and menu block don't show up correctly unless you add those classes. And so there's some discussion happening on that issue over in 4066. Looks like there's some options there. I was in the middle of posting a comment there as well, like saying which way I would take that. So that's good that we've got some approaches in progress there. There's also a bigger meta issue at 4046 that is like a checkbox meta of follow-up issues for flexible layouts. that there are some other items listed in there as well. But that's, yeah, looking at the 114.1 list, maybe I was a little too optimistic at the beginning of this meeting when I was like, oh, it's so great. We don't have any 114.1 issues. Maybe we don't have any regressions, but flexible layout seems to be an area that we've got a lot of follow-ups in. And that meta issue at 4046 has got a lot of things that we could do to make it better.
Yeah, I was actually expecting that. I don't find it unexpected because it's a huge, big feature and it touches a lot of things that, yeah, so I was expecting to have a lot of UX, at least, issues.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see. Also, we don't have this in the agenda, but if we could find that issue, we bumped one issue from 114 that was related to fieldable files, that there's a managed file display tab right now on the file types. And that really, it would be preferable if that was just under the display modes page itself. Like it's odd that it's a separate page when it's one-to-one mapped. And so we have an issue, I think it's for 115 actually, because it's probably going to have some API additions to make something like that possible, to make it so that we can reduce some of the UI confusion that we inherited from 777's file entity module.
It's issue 2632. Oh wait, that was the main issue.
We did make an issue for it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Is it 4031?
Yep, that's it. Thank you. Yeah,
Awesome.
Issue 4031. Move the contents of the managed file display. Yeah, so we would basically build that entire page into the other one. Oh, I know why it's not in the list yet, is because I followed the rules and I only marked it as a milestone candidate. So it's not actually assigned to 115 yet. So if anyone agrees with me that that should be a 115 thing, yeah, move 4031 into the 115 milestone.
Does it need an advocate?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't think it needs an advocate to be in the milestone, but it needs an advocate to be part of the weekly meetings. Isn't that the way that works?
That distinction is not clear to me, but I'm fine with it.
Yeah, and I just changed the milestone. It's too late now.
Got it. I have been, in some of the stuff I've been just writing, I've been saying in order to be milestone, it has to have an advocate.
Yeah.
I could just be wrong on that, and I can change that.
No, that's how it's supposed to be.
Okay.
But so let's talk about when we get to 115.0, because I'm happy to be the advocate for that issue if I'm not also the advocate for the other issue. And the other issue I think already has a patch that's like in a near complete status. So if you guys don't want that issue, I'll just remove myself and only do this one. And if you guys do want that issue, then I'll do this one next.
Right.
Okay. Well, let's move on. Actually, let's go right into that. So those are the items for 114.1 that we have. There's also a list, as always, of bugs that we could solve immediately in the 114.1 milestone. You can check that out on GitHub. So 115 includes some new features that we are just now creating, as well as some that have been carried that were not completed in 114. We'll run through them in order, and we'll get to yours, Jen. You're number 3 on the list. So first one that we have here is signatures on packages, digital signatures on packages. It's issue 1992. They don't have any progress updates on this one. This past week, or two, actually, it's been getting 114 out the door. And unfortunately, just with working through all of the other pull requests and review and stuff like that, I didn't have any time to actually invest development time into updating project module further. So same status as before, working on project module. We need to do some additional merges into project module and then make a new release of that. I still think that it would be good for us to move CodeSign and its related modules into Contrib to make it easier to test and deploy to backdropcms.org. So if that hasn't been done, then I'll probably proceed with that as like the next step. Okay, let's go to the recent news block on Dashboard, issue 3566. Tim, you're the advocate for it. Do you have anything that you'd like to say or any updates that have happened recently?
Well, so where this got left, it was, Nate, your concerns about, I think, how we're generating some of the output. And it's a little bit stalled just because I feel like, well, I don't know. I could try to dig in and see if that's something I can fix myself. Jeff was the most active helper on this, and he's just been a little busy lately, so he's not been around to help. He did make a comment at some point about like not being able to help because he's busy, and also because, you know, he'd have to really dig into the code because it was being generated by a module that we had ported. I don't know. I'd have to go back and review that, but so that sort of generating that output seems to be the blocker. And I don't know, to me, I guess I'm trying to think about how to unblock that. And it's either I find somebody that has the time to sort of dig in and look at that other than Jeff, or I find some time and try to do it myself. Any thoughts? I'm debating like whether or not to remove myself as advocate on this issue, just to sort of put it on hold while until I get more information, because
getting more information is part of advocacy, so I would say.
Because I'd like to be advocating for something, and this one seems stalled until we solve this
fair
problem.
enough then. Yeah, fair enough then.
So that would be the reason.
Jen, were you going to say something?
I was going to say that I'm the one that ported that module. So if it needs work, I would be the one who would bother about that. Okay. But I think we should check the Drupal 7 queue for that module and see if someone else has requested the ability to change the keys of the JSON output, because it could be that there's like just a patch waiting there that we can apply, and then this would get done quickly.
Which module is that?
What?
Which module is that?
It was like views extras or something. I don't remember. It's linked in that issue about the news block.
Okay, cool.
Right. It's the module we're using to generate the JSON on backdrop.org.
So the module is called views JSON, and it's a sub-module of a different module in Drupal 7. Module with a different name.
Okay. Well, actually, I feel like that gives me some things maybe that I could do, either even if they're just bugging you, Jen.
Yeah, I think if you want to ask me to fix the contrib module, I could do that, and then you could go back to Jeff and be like, "Can you make the view do the thing with the module?" And that might be a more palatable thing for him, because he's probably like, "Oh God, it's going to be a lot of work because I don't know any of that code."
Right.
But if I do that part, he can do the part that he already knows really well.
Right. Okay. Good. That's the status update on that.
Thank you, Tim.
Sneaky.
Okay, let's see. Image style tokens, issue 3594. I don't know much about this issue since it's new, but Jen, you are currently the advocate for it. Can you describe what is going on with this issue?
Yeah, so this was a Drupal 7 module called image cache tokens. That basically, for every image token you have, it gives you one for each image style. I use this all the time because I use meta tag all the time, and I want it to happen that when you share a version of your post, it'll put an appropriately sized image in there. So the OG image tag in the header needs to not necessarily point to the default image, which is what it would do if you use the normal image tag. You want it to use a special image style for that. I don't know if this is an 80% use case, which is why I'm like, I'll advocate for it, but I don't know if you guys are going to want it in or not. But I wrote it as an image style patch because I was hoping that it wouldn't be a big deal to put it in core. If you guys don't want it in core, I'll probably just make a new module called image style tokens instead of image cache tokens, or I don't know what's worth keeping the image cache tokens name around, but yeah. The tokens themselves are pretty straightforward, and it has tests. Gregory, you're muted.
Oh yeah, I was saying, looking at you, Nate.
Oh, I haven't looked at this yet, so I
do you want to give it a technical review? So my question was really more from a feature point of view. Like, is anyone else going to want tokens for image styles?
Right. And is that something that should be in chords?
Right. Is it something that's common enough that people will be like upset if it's not there? Use it if it is there? I don't know.
I'm not obviously seeing how that's helpful to me yet, but I'd have to look.
So you probably won't notice until you try and share one of your posts on social media and the image is entirely the wrong size. So for me, it seemed like it wasn't necessarily that like image cache tokens was an 80% use case, but sharing content on social media is, and that we should do everything we can to make that process work better in Backdrop.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, is there, maybe one thing you might make it not so applicable is that for the most part, won't social media sources like accept any size image as long as it's big enough? Like images that are too big, they already make their own thumbnails for you when they show it inside of Twitter or Facebook or whatever. And so giving a really big image to those social media outlets doesn't seem like it's usually a problem because they make their own thumbnails anyway.
Yeah, but sometimes you might want to give them an image that matches their like exact requirements. Like Facebook has pretty tough requirements. I ran into this recently because I had a site that had original images that were like 900 pixels and they needed to be 1400 or something like that. And so I had to go through and like replace the actual content with other content. And then I didn't want to use the big files on the site. I wanted the little files on the site, but then Facebook needed the big files. So I didn't want it to use the image that I was delivering. I wanted it to use a different image style version.
Yeah, interesting. So yeah, I guess you could end up with things like the cropping would end up funny or something.
The cropping ends up funny, and the images get really blurry if you give them the wrong size.
They get blurry.
And depending on which service it is, there's some of them that will be like, oh, well, if it's not the right dimensions, create a derivative image where it gets fuzzy just because of the process of creating the derivative image, where if you give them exactly the same image and exactly the same sizes, they don't create a derivative. So it's not fuzzy.
Yeah. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Meta tag is still contrib module, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And so
right now, if you share a Backdrop page, you get the site logo.
Yeah, which that could be something that like we should maybe look at something that we could improve, you know.
So I was thinking about that too. I was like, maybe this issue should be a bigger issue than adding the tokens. It should be like provide an OG image tag by default.
Right. I totally agree with that. That there should be some kind of.
But then we would immediately run into this problem where what image style do you give them? And if it's the original one, what kind of a problem does that create for your site?
Well, I'd like to see that if we had basic OG image support, that it would be done via something like via a UI configuration that was like, which field do you want and what image style do you want, and show those as select lists and fields instead of typing in a token.
I'll try.
Yeah.
This is related. So I'll try to dig up this issue that comes to mind now. I can't remember the exact issue and what it was, but I have these comments. First off, in D7, token was a contrib module. Now it's in core. And then I recall this kind of tokens where they dig deeper into properties of things being separate contrib modules. So for the thingies that we have already put in core in combination with token, I feel like those things should be in core. Does that make sense?
Like image styles?
I'm thinking, as I said, it's like I vaguely remember. It must have been years. I think date formats.
Right. We missed all the date format.
Yes, it would be colon, short, colon, because date now is in core. Token is in core, but there was a separate module that would provide those tokens. I'm not sure. So it makes sense to me now that both these modules are in core to actually be providing those tokens like it would be expected, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's kind of where my mind is right now, is that meta tag is a contrib module, and meta tag is the situation in which these tokens are likely to be needed. And so maybe at this point, them being a contrib, like contrib working with other contrib is the better thing to be doing, rather than if we were to provide something in core that provided OG image tags, then it would be important that we have a way to input a proper image style for that OG image tag, but we don't. And so maybe when we build out some kind of basic meta tag support, or if we build up basic meta tag support. Do you think
that we shouldn't put the date format tokens in because we don't have a valid use case to use the date format tokens for the same logic as this one? Like the only place you really use those is in meta tag, so we don't need those in core either? Or
I would have to look at the date format thing, because there might be other use cases there. I'm not sure.
Well, there might be other use cases for this too, but this is the only one I could come up with.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
date formats, I think the big thing was for URL patterns, actually, that people wanted to put date formats into their URLs. So that's Path Auto.
Just quick draw attention to Matthias commented on this in Gitter. He supports it, I think.
Laren supports it too. But these are all people that use like meta tag.
Okay.
So I don't know. I'd be fine with bumping this and asking for more feedback and seeing if other people have other use cases than this. I can continue to apply the patch for another release or so, and that'll give other people a chance to be like, oh, I use it on X, it's really important, or I've never used that, we don't need it. And maybe we can also work on the image sharing problem first, and then if it turns out that problem is solved, we don't need this part of meta tag anymore because core does it better, then maybe this issue becomes less important.
Yeah, I would probably also just go ahead and make it a contrib module rather than applying a patch, like have it be a contrib module. And if it gets moved into core, then we, treat it like all of the other modules that we move into core, we automatically disable it upon upgrade, and then post a message saying you can delete the module.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then I probably won't rename it. I'll leave it image cache tokens with sort of the long-term hope that it'll get into core. And that way people will have an easier time upgrading from Drupal 7.
Okay. I'm ready for image cache, the word that name to die. It's been a long time since image cache existed. But it's up to you.
Okay. So if I'm not going to advocate for that issue, I will advocate for the managed file display page issue.
Issue 4031 that we were discussing earlier.
Yep.
Yeah, that will have all kinds of implications because we need basically the ability to specify display settings for non-fields.
Yeah.
That's what that really comes down to.
We need it for a bunch of other stuff too. So I think figuring this out here will be good because we want to move the node title settings to the managed display. There's a bunch of stuff that all requires the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and all of so many things that are things that show up on the node form that are in the vertical tabs down at the bottom. A lot of those things could be moved from the content type settings to the form settings instead. It's that way you'd be configuring it all in one place instead of some on the content type and some on the field settings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, but managed file display being the immediate problem because it's a big new UI. What the heck's going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So next up is provide a way to re-enable disabled text formats, issue 1575. There isn't an advocate listed here, but I'm guessing that's Gregory. Gregory, can you give us an update on that?
For the text formats. So there's a UX issue that we need to solve, and that is the problem of telling people that if they move on with the action of disabling the text format, we actually remove it from the user interface at least. But then we dug a little bit deeper into that, and then we thought that maybe we should also allow them to re-enable things that got disabled. So that bit sounds like a feature because it's something new. It was not there before, but the UX thing, the problem is a bug. So the specific issue is classified as a bug report at the moment, and that's for the UX bit. Like that, we tell people that we're going to disable things and we actually remove them with no way for them to re-enable them unless they go into code. So we have gotten pretty close on that. It was just that we had some issues with the drop-down menus where they allow you to select which type of editor you're going to use in the rich text editor, and there were entries there that were not meant to be. They were meant to be disabled or removed. So
didn't we have the content problem too, or was that fixed? Where like all the content?
Oh yes, this was a side effect. Yes, where content that was previously had a note that was saying it was not possible to edit it, or it was rendered where it wasn't supposed to be rendered.
Yeah.
So we had issues like that.
So I think we have a potential fix for that too in the issue, because when we noticed the code problem, Doc Wilmot immediately came up with an alternate way to do it, so yes, we could proceed that way.
Yes, and it sounds really logical what he suggested. We just keep things as they are mostly, and we just introduce a new function that gets the all formats for the purpose of listing them in the admin page where we enable them and disable them. And for the rest of the places, we just keep using the old function that gets us the results that we want. Sounds safer.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's see. Next and last is add an image library modal to image fields, issue 3297. Lauren is the advocate for this one, but he's not here on this meeting, but we can summarize it. That it's a really reasonable request that right now, when you're inserting an image into the rich text editor, you have the ability to upload an image or select one from the library, which is great. But when you're working with an image field, it's just upload. There's no ability to select an existing image. And so the suggestion in 3297 is that, well, we have the ability to select an image from the library as well as doing an upload. So, I mean, it seems really straightforward, and even from a UI perspective, it might be pretty straightforward, but from a technical implementation, we probably have some debt to pay down here. That we took some shortcuts with the image modal when we integrated it into the editor. So I have a feeling that implementing this into image fields, we'll probably need to do some consolidation to make it so the same code is used in both places and do some tidying up there. From what I've seen, I don't think there's no pull request here. This is just like, yes, this is a good idea. So we're in the stage of like, we have to figure out how we're going to approach this from a technical perspective. Maybe also figure out some UI problems of like, how is the link going to be shown to select from library versus upload and things like that. So yeah, I'm excited about this. This is such an obvious thing that should exist. So it's great. It's a great candidate.
Also, this isn't related. Well, this isn't on our agenda, but it is related. I was also thinking that we might end up needing something like inline entity form now that we have fieldable files. When you upload a file, you can't add any fields to it in the same way that when you upload an image, you can't like choose from the library. It's like we were adding features in some places, but not others. I don't know what that looks like yet, so I haven't created an issue, but same sort of thing where it's like, oh, we're adding this amazing functionality in one part of the site, but the place that you use every day is exactly the same.
Yeah, in some ways, I'm kind of okay with that. Like things like inline antiform are really complicated. You know, like it really takes your forms into like this really crazy place.
Yeah.
And
I wasn't necessarily saying that module, but that feature, we're going to need some way to add enter data into the fields on your files.
Other than editing the files.
Right, or uploading them not attached to content.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. That's it for 115. This meeting's been going on for quite a while anyway, so we do have some other general discussion items though. Let's see. There's going to be quite a bit of things at Bad Camp. We've got the Backdrop mini camp. Is that what we're calling it?
Yep.
At Bad Camp, and then we also have day of training. And then there's also going to be sprinting. So during Code Sprint Day.
And the party.
And the what?
The party.
There's Backdrop party?
6 p.m. We have a reservation for 15 people at the gaming place that Jack recommended.
Oh, yeah.
So it's an hour after our summit ends. So we can get everybody who's at the summit and drag them to the gaming restaurant place. Board game restaurant bar thing.
Yeah, it looks really neat. The place, the venue, I mean. Okay, excellent. Are there anything else that you guys would like to mention or discuss?
Yeah, for the 115, if there's any people like watching this video afterwards and they want to advocate or work on issues, two things that I would like to get in this release, or ideally as soon as possible, is telemetry. I know it's not listed there, and I know there's some blockers. And the other thing, bulk uploading of files. I think we do have an issue for it. I can't find it right now. Just wanted to mention it.
Well, Gregory knows this. I've listed telemetry as something I'm considering advocating for when I finish my current issue. I'm just concerned that it's too big, but I'll bring that up at a future meeting and we'll talk more about it.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention those as two potential things that could be good candidates for the next release.
And someone else can feel free to jump on it before me. That's fine.
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, let's wrap it up. Yeah, thank you everybody. Great release on 114. Very excited to have that out there and in the wild. Now it's blue sky time for 115 and what we can potentially do before January 15th. So thank you guys all for joining the meeting today. Thank you guys all for the great release, and see you guys on the internet.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.